YouTube, it's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So we got some very, very interesting news. As 4-division world champion, Mexican superstar boxer, Mikey Garcia, 40 wins, 2 losses, no draws, 30 wins by way of knockout. Mikey Garcia is 34 years of age, 5'6", with a 64-inch arm reach. Mikey Garcia, with that said, Mikey Garcia with a 68-inch arm reach, 5'6" with a 68-inch arm reach. With that said, Mikey Garcia, he did an interview in which Mikey Garcia was asked about undefeated 3-division world champion, former junior welterweight undisputed world champion, currently the WBO reigning welterweight world champion, who is widely considered by many to be the #1 best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, in Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford is 38 wins, no losses, no draws, 29 big wins by way of knockout. He is 5'8" with a 74-inch arm reach. With that said, Terence Crawford is coming off the biggest victory of his career when he defeated 2-time welterweight world champion, superstar boxer Showtime Shawn Porter, who has now announced his retirement after being stopped by Terence Crawford in the 10th round, being dropped twice, and then ultimately stopped in the 10th round by Terence Crawford in their November 20th showdown. With that said, that's the last time we saw Terence Crawford in the ring. Mikey Garcia, we last saw him in the ring October of 2021, a month prior to Terence Crawford and Shawn Porter, almost a month to the day. He fought October 16th. So Terence Crawford, Shawn Porter fought November 20th. And Mikey Garcia, he fought against Sandor Martin, and he lost a majority decision victory to Sandor Martin. Shocking. Most people were very, very shocked. If not everybody was shocked that Sandor Martin, who was 38 wins, 2 losses, no draws, came in and beat Mikey Garcia, okay, in the manner he did. 13 wins by way of knockout. He's not a big puncher. 28 years of age, 5'7.5", with a 67-inch arm reach. He's not a big puncher. He's a slick boxer who was a southpaw, and that proved to give Mikey Garcia all types of trouble. Now, keep in mind, Mikey Garcia, he had been out the ring for over a year. Mikey Garcia had lost his mom, so a lot had taken place with Mikey Garcia outside the ring, and not to mention dealing with the pandemic and things of that nature. So with that said, Mikey Garcia, he was talking about the future of Terence Crawford, what should be next for Terence Crawford, what direction Terence Crawford should go in, and Mikey Garcia, he raised his hand, shockingly. Now, in the past, Mikey Garcia has stated that he don't like the style matchup between himself and Terence Crawford. He never seemed too eager to get in the ring with Terence Crawford. They fought in the amateurs, and Terence Crawford beat him in the amateurs, and he stated that he just didn't like the style of Terence Crawford movement, right? So Terence Crawford is 2 inches taller with a 6-inch arm reach advantage. So he has extremely long arms, Terence Crawford does. Terence Crawford has the ability to switch from southpaw to orthodox. Power in both hands. He knocked out the last 9 opponents he's faced. But Terence Crawford, like Mikey Garcia, they ventured off from, smaller weight classes. Mikey Garcia is a champion at 126. 130, 135, and 140. Okay, 4-division champion. Terence Crawford is a 3-division champion, 135, 140, and 147. Okay, so they started smaller weight classes, but Terence Crawford has extremely long arms compared to Mikey Garcia. Mikey Garcia does not have very long arms. He's very short, very compact, very technically sound, skilled, and very tight with his style. I think that's why Sandor Martin movement and athletic ability gave Mikey Garcia problems. Now, Mikey Garcia, again, like I said, Mikey Garcia had an issue with his he lost his mom outside the ring. He hadn't been in the ring in a while, so there's a lot going on, and there's a lot of feeling like Mikey Garcia is simply 1 foot in and 1 foot out of the sport of boxing. Mikey Garcia has not shown, to have, much interest in the sport of boxing anymore. Okay, it seems like Mikey Garcia has 1 foot in and 1 foot out of the sport of boxing. Okay, Mikey Garcia has now ventured into racing cars and things of that nature. So Mikey Garcia has turned his attention to other things outside of the sport of boxing. Mikey Garcia has a lot of businesses he's ventured in. So, there's a lot of feeling like Mikey Garcia, is not fully committed to the sport of boxing like he once was, okay? And so with that said, that could have played a major part in him losing to Sandor Martin as well. But Mikey Garcia in the past, like I said, he stated that he didn't like the movement, the style of Terence Crawford, and wouldn't be an exciting fight. Code word, it's hard to cut the ring off, and Terence Crawford movement is going to give me problems. But now, Mikey Garcia is saying Terence Crawford doesn't have an opponent. I don't have an opponent. Let's make it happen. He said now he does understand that Terence Crawford is attempting to make statements, and Terence Crawford is looking to get the biggest fight in the sport of boxing, which is himself versus undefeated unified WBC IBF welterweight world champion superstar boxer Errol the True Spence Jr., who is widely considered by many to be top 3 best pound-for-pound fighters in the world. Errol Spence Jr. is 27 wins, no losses, no draws, 21 big wins by way of knockout. He is 5'9.5" with a 72-inch arm reach, 31 years of age. So with that said, that's considered to be the biggest fight in the sport of boxing, Terence Crawford versus Errol Spence Jr., okay? Now, obviously, Mikey Garcia, he too raised his hand to fight Errol Spence Jr., okay? Mikey Garcia, he stated he saw something in Errol Spence Jr., Mikey Garcia, he stated that, Errol Spence was like looking in the mirror stylistically, and he felt like he could beat, Errol Spence Jr. He saw some flaws in Errol Spence Jr. that he felt like he can exploit, okay? And so with that said, Mikey Garcia, he challenged Errol Spence Jr. back in March of 2019, and Mikey Garcia was not successful, obviously. Mikey Garcia, he lost, unanimous decision to Errol Spence Jr. And, ever since that loss, Mikey Garcia has not been viewed as the same fighter anymore. So, he raised his hand. He thought he saw something in Errol Spence, and, he obviously was not correct because he came up short. So, he stated that Errol Spence, he understands that Terence Crawford is trying to make a statement. He's trying to, he's trying to solidify and show everybody a reason why he deserves to fight with Errol Spence. Now, I don't believe that he needs to prove anything. I don't think that Terence Crawford needs to, do anything to, tell the world that he's deserving of a fight with Errol Spence Jr. I don't believe that at all. I believe that, the fight is already, established. I believe that, the fight is already, well anticipated. Okay, highly well anticipated. So I don't believe for a second that Terence Crawford needs to do anything, to let the world know that he needs a fight with that he deserves a fight with Errol Spence Jr. So I believe that fight is already solidified. I don't believe that Terence Crawford needs to do anything to prove himself. But a mutual opponent between the two, Mikey Garcia, as they had Sean Porter. Sean Porter, he lost to, Keith Thurman, former unified lightweight, former unified welterweight world champion. He lost to, Errol Spence Jr., and he lost to Kell Brook, okay? So they lost to mutual opponents. But, the fact remains, this Mikey Garcia is still a superstar. He's still a big fight, and that would make sense for Mikey Garcia, and Terence Crawford. It's a super fight for both guys. It's a fight that, would be anticipated. It would be highly viewed, and it makes sense for Terence Crawford. Now, Terence Crawford is a network promotional free agent. Terence Crawford, he's parted ways with his longtime promoter, top-ranked CEO and promoter Bob Arum at ESPN. So he's a network promotional free agent. Mikey Garcia, they have something in common. Mikey Garcia also had to part ways and had to sit on the shelf when he parted ways with Top Rank and Bob Arum at ESPN. So with that said, it just makes sense, to have the fight, with Terence Crawford and Mikey Garcia. Again, Terence Crawford doesn't have, he has options, but a lot of his options are tied up right now. It makes sense for Terence Crawford, the fight that everybody wanted to see is Terence Crawford and Errol Spence, but obviously Errol Spence, he has a unification bout coming up, looks like April 16th against, WBA welterweight world champion, superstar boxer, Yordenis Ugas. Okay, Yordenis Ugas is the WBA World Boxing Association's welterweight champion. Errol Spence holds the IBF and the WBC. So it makes sense for this fight to come to fruition, the unification bout, and then after that, Terence Crawford. But in the meantime, what is Terence Crawford going to do? It makes sense. Terence Crawford and Mikey Garcia, that's still a big fight. Although Mikey Garcia is coming off a loss to Sandor Martin, although Mikey Garcia seems to have 1 foot in, 1 foot out, it's still a big name, and it's a fight that Terence Crawford had been seeking out. It's a way for Terence Crawford to once again be able to solidify, the biggest fights possible, okay? And so with that said, he wants to get the biggest names. He feels as Top Rank and Bob Arum has held him up and stopped him from, preventing him from get those big names. So here's another way and another option for Terence Crawford to get a big name on the table. So Mikey Garcia raised his hand and said, let's make it happen. Let's see what happens. That's all I got for y'all. Make sure you hit the like button. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue, Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. You haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. Hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shouts out to New Media. Shouts out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like your shitty videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.
You're watching Blue Blood Sports TV. Wow.